Hello, my lovelies. All right, you may fall. You should see what I've got you propped up on today. I only brought my little tripod with me. I'm in Melbourne. I'm doing a speaking gig tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to it, actually. But I was trying to minimalise my packing. And I still haven't mastered that completely. So I only brought my tiny, tiny tripod. Hi, Lucy. Sorry, I had to cut the last one off because I wasn't sure where to sit. And then I lost my Wi-Fi signal. It was crazy. So I'm in Melbourne. I'm doing a talk tomorrow. We're talking about simple social media and how to fit it in and actually have time to run your business or your blog at the same time as showing up on social media. Hello. All right, so I haven't got my big tripod with me. So I've got this teeny tiny tripod and you're sitting on a little book and my handbag and my suitcase and the desk because I couldn't get to a part where I was like close to like a good connection. And then anyway, long story short, we're good, we're comfy, but if the camera falls, don't freak out. Okay, so the wonders of technology. Okay, so what are we going to talk about? What are we talking about? How I prepare for speaking gigs without burnout or overwhelm. You guys know I love simplicity. Yes, I love things to be simple and easy and enjoyable. It's like my main goal in life. It's a little bit about being lazy, but it's also about really wanting to feel calm and content and just enjoy my life and my business. And I like helping you guys out with that too. So if you have any speaking gigs coming up or any podcast interviews or any live online trainings that you're going to be giving, I want to give you a heads up on how to prepare for that without feeling like you have to practice 24/7. I so needed this last week. Oh, no. You might be surprised, Lucy. You might already be doing it. Yeah. So, no. Okay. So, yes, let's simplify it. All right. So, what I'm doing is I've got a talk tomorrow that goes for about 45 minutes, and I'm talking about simple social media, how to fit it in, juggle it with your business and blog. Ease is what you do best, gorgeous. Oh, you're so lovely. Thank you. It's what I aim for. Ease. Ease is the perfect word for that. Yes. Okay. So speech tomorrow is 45 minutes. It's at the end of a 2-day conference. So it's a beautiful, beautiful audience. I spoke at the same event last year. I don't know if it's the exact same people coming, but it's an audience of about 165. And every time I meet people in this industry that I'm speaking to the home styling and staging industry tomorrow, they're just so full of joy. They're lovely people. They're warm, they're friendly, they see the beauty in life. Hi, Mel. They see the joy in what they do and they love it. So the audience is beautiful. So I don't have the nerves about speaking to them. But it's at the end of a 2-day conference, and the people that run this conference, they pack it with so much valuable information, right? So the downside of that for me is I'm one of the last to talk. I think I could be the last to talk. I'm one of the last to talk. I'm talking in the afternoon tomorrow. And so by the time you've sat through 2 days of a conference, as a conference goer, you get so much information, right, that there's a lot of exhaustion just from being in the audience, right? So one of the things that I have to do is make sure that I can keep people that little bit more perky and engaged. And so one of the things I have to work into my speech is getting their involvement and adding little bits and pieces that are going to get them moving a little bit and talking a little bit. And so anyway, so that's an interesting thing. So I can talk about that on another video if you want to, how to kind of throw those into your talks so that you can get a bit more engagement as you're doing your speech. But today, you need to get the energy up and have some fun then. Yes, exactly, right? But you've got to do it in a way that makes people feel safe and not exposed, right? So it's a tricky balance. It's a tricky balance. Especially, when you're talking to an audience of people who love doing what I'm doing right now, then that's easy. They're all, all for it. When you're talking to an audience who that's not necessarily what they do every day, they're not, live on video like we are, you've got to you want people to feel supported as you bring them into the conversation. Yes, so you've got to find that balance. So we can talk about that in another video. But what I'm going to do is focus on prep. That's the point. Focus on the prep. Okay. So there's a couple of things I do to keep it easy. I follow the same pattern every time. Number one, I talk about something I'm comfortable with already, okay? It's a topic, social media, I could talk about that every day. all day. I could talk about how to simplify it all day. I have lots of little patterns that I like to follow to keep things easy. So it's a topic I'm really comfy with. It's not hard to stay on top of. I don't have to be the only person that knows everything about the topic, and I don't approach it as I am the expert in this topic. I approach it as I love to simplify. Here's how I do it. If this is going to help you, I am happy to share it. Right? So you see how we take the pressure off with that way of looking at it? Talk about a topic you're comfortable with, but don't put pressure on yourself to be the only person talking about it and the best person talking about it. It's like my friend Denise says, right? You contribute to the conversation. You don't have to rule the conversation. Okay, so there's that. That's tip number 1. Talk about something you're comfortable with, that you enjoy, that you could talk about all day long. Step number 2 is so I'm doing a slideshow tomorrow. And I am somebody who traditionally is a person who has 40 slides a talk. Now, I've cut that down to about 21 this time, but it's still a lot of slides, right? So that's when I'm like, you've got to add little things to get people involved as well. So cut down your slides as much as you can, but don't freak out if you can't. What you need to do with your slides, in my experience, is to not have them all full of written points. Right? And there's a temptation there when you're doing a live speaking gig and you've got a PowerPoint behind you. There's a really big temptation to add a lot of words to those slides so that you remember your content. But what happens is you're basically just reading your content and your audience is falling asleep, right? Yeah, so you want pictures instead that are going to remind you of the points that you're going to talk about, and you've got to remember to let go of the need for perfection. You don't have to remember a sentence exactly as you say it, because your personality, whether or not you've lost your voice like I did last year, what things are funny to you, your interaction with the audience, all of those things are going to affect your speech. You're not going to be able to give it exactly like you've rehearsed it, and it's not going to be exactly like you imagine it. So you need to just let go of that emotional tie to the need to deliver it to perfection. Okay, you got to be able to have fun with it, right? Yes, exactly. Okay, so that's number 2. Don't do a whole lot of written words. Don't feel like you need to be perfect because you're just going to read everything out. Everybody's going to fall asleep. If you do have written words on your slides, I do on a lot of mine have written words. Not on a lot of them, maybe about 2 or 3. Maybe 5, I don't know, 5 out of 20, that's about a quarter. So you need to incorporate some transitions into those PowerPoints then, just to perk people up. So that's that. The third thing I do is I try really hard not to rehearse and rehearse and rehearse and rehearse and rehearse and rehearse. I do think the more you practice something and the more familiar you are with something, the more confident and comfortable you are. But I don't think you need to talk yourself hoarse trying to repeat the same presentation over and over again, hoping that it sinks in. What I like to do instead, because you still need to practice, you still need to make sure you fit in with your timeline. I got 45 minutes and you all know how much I ramble, right? You can see it here. All right, so what I do is when I'm at the location, I give myself time, because when I'm at home, I'm with the kids, right? I don't have time by myself. So when I'm at the location, I make sure to get there a day early or so. And then, hi Tamara, I get there a day early and I have some quiet time to myself, and I run through, not with my notes, but with my slides, and I record me talking my way through my talk onto the voice memos on my iPhone. Okay, so what that does is, that shows me where I stumble, because I'm just doing my slides, not my notes. That was the biggest concern for me, but amazingly kept right on time. Yeah, timing is really hard, especially when you know you're going overtime and you've got to fit in, right? Or you know you've got a big stretch of time and you haven't quite said enough yet. Yeah, timing is one of those classic facilitator or workshop teacher little niggly things that we really need to kind of nail in order to keep that going. Yes, yes. All right, so what I do is I practice. I look at my slides on my computer, I walk my way through them, and I record myself giving my talk without relying on my written notes or the notes under the slides. I write notes as I prepare my slides to kind of guide me on the preparation, and the notes are available in my talk if I get complete stage fright, but I try not to look at those. So I practice, I do a run through, I record my voice on my voice memos on my iPhone just to see how the timing goes. And if I'm within about 5 minutes of the time either way, I'm pretty comfy with it, right? But I also get to see where my stumble points are then. Yeah? And I see how I've moved on. Now, if I'm reasonably happy with how that went, then that's it. I don't give it another go. But what I do is I employ a little bit of that, what do you call it? That subconscious thing, you know, where you play it like when you're asleep. It's like osmosis. Is osmosis the word? I think osmosis is the word. But basically what I do is at some point over the rest of the day, at least 2 or 3 times, I play that recording in my ear. So if I'm walking to the shops or walking to dinner or exploring the area, or if I'm chilling out, then I'll just pop a little earphone in and listen to myself give that talk 1 or 2 more times, and that's it, right? So glad you don't have to public speak. Tamara, yeah, but what about online? You've got to practice this sort of stuff, because the more you get out there, the more people love what you do, the more you can help more people. Yeah, tell me a bit more about what you do. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I was always full of stage fright. Hang on, I'm just going to log out my computer because I'm wasting the hotel Wi-Fi. Okay. I was one of those kids that never even smiled in photos. I was so shy. My mum put me into drama classes and it, changed my life. Yeah, oh, that's nice. Yeah, so I was really shy. My mum put me into drama. That changed everything. Then I got a job where I was a corporate facilitator. So I did get used to talking to groups then. But honestly, the more you do it, the easier it gets. But the more people can see you and your personality and how you talk and get used to your little, is it idiosyncrasies, that word? Get used to your little quirks, the more engaged they get and the more relevant you are to them and the more you connect with each other. It's also really easy then for people who follow you online to know straight away if they want to work with you further, if they like your content, if they want to come back and learn some more. Such a great idea with the voice recording, time efficient, and yes, subconscious learning. Yes, it's so easy because you're so familiar with it. So then it kind of cuts down that stage fright, right? So you're talking, you're going through your slides, and you don't have to remember the exact sentence when you're in that moment, but you get a familiarity with the content. My last tip is to involve you in all your big words today. I know, I'm amazing. Am I getting any of the big words right though, Lucy? I really don't know. You know me, I like it simple. Okay, so my last tip is a really fun one, and that is to include the audience as much as you can. So yes, it's going to help them perk up a little bit and listen to you talk, but also it's going to give you breathing room in your talk. So deliberately, I like to insert like a slide in here that just asks a question, and I like to take my time and get 3 or 4 people to answer that question. And if you hear crickets, that's when I like to make a joke about, whoa, nobody wants to talk. What are we going to do? I don't ham it up, but I let things play out when I'm on the stage. And I think that's really important to do, is to kind of give people a few seconds to get comfy with the idea of, say, answering a question. Or I mirror, you've been doing Instagram stories tomorrow. That's a great idea. Instagram stories are awesome, right? Because they put you up the top of the Instagram feed, so that when people go on, they're not scrolling through 6 pages of feed to get to you. You're up there on the top. Instagram stories are awesome. We should do a whole video on the best things about Instagram stories. Yes, I want to go and watch yours. I'm going to go and watch them. I hope you don't mind. Anyway, yes, stories are awesome. So I insert things for the audience to help with. So I ask them questions, and sometimes I ask them for the negative stuff as well as the positive stuff, because I really want to get to know what they're struggling with, and I can help them with that. And if I can't help them on the spot, then we can work our way doing it together sometime in the future, and that kind of leads to an ongoing relationship with the audience then too. Yeah, you need to do this. Oh, yay. So yes, so questions. What I also do is mirror the body language I'd like to see in the audience. So if I'm asking a question, I don't just hold the microphone and ask the question. I raise my hand if I'm asking people to raise their hand, right? Yes, and it's not as demanding because you know they're going to disappear. Yes, so you don't need to be perfect with Instagram stories, do you? And that's what holds us back, I think, a lot of the time. Not everybody, but a lot of us have this fear of perfection, right? If I can't get it perfect, I don't want to do it until I'm ready, right? But with Instagram stories, they're so live and they're in the moment, and the longest they last for is, 24 hours? So you've got the freedom to not be perfect. And just be you. Be the real you. Yes. So I get people to give me input in the audiences. I think that's really fun. I like to mirror the body language. I don't always just do raise your hand. I say give you a little wave, or I add a couple of silly little things in there as well. But that really helps. I find that the more I get them involved, yes, it perks them up and gets them involved in the talk, but also as a speaker, it gives you time to pause, wait for a response, and go from there. And when you're in the moment, that's when people really see that you know your stuff, which takes you back full circle to needing to really talk about something you're comfortable with. So good, makes so much sense, but also makes it easier to plan with the best results engagement. Oh, thank you, honey. Oh, Lucy, I wish you were here too. Get down to Melbourne. Go to Melbourne. Yeah, so it's a packed out room tomorrow. It's pretty full. I've gone and had a quick look at the setup. And it's one of those ones where, you know, even though I'm hanging out, it's so tempting to go in and watch the whole thing, but I shouldn't, because A, that's going to, you know, distract people, having a person popping in and out. And B, it kind of feeds that sort of stage fright. You kind of want to be able to just be in the moment rather than think about the moment ahead of time. So that's it. That's how I do it. I'm going to do up a little blog post with these steps. So if you're just joining now, or if you're watching the recording later and you're like, no, I missed it, I haven't written notes, I'll do a blog post next week that has those steps in it. I'll give you guys an update on how I went. Loved talking to you guys live. So Lucy, Tamara, Mel, whoever joined me live, thank you, thank you, thank you. That was really fun. And the camera didn't fall. Did not fall. We're good. So I'm going to go and chill out for a bit. I'm going to listen to my talk in my ear. And I will see you guys later. Bye. Bye, gorgeous. Oh, no, I'm dropping you. Oh, no, you're going. Okay, bye.